Hello and welcome to another Source Gaming discussion. I'm your host Nantendrex, and joining me today is Spazzy D.
Hey guys.
And our special guest today is Pode, who is a moderator on the Source Gaming Discord.
Oh, you stole my line. Yep, that's me.
I am.
I had nothing to say.
No.
He's also our resident Dragon's Quest expert.
Yeah.
By expert, we mean that he's played more games than the two of us combined. So.
Yes, the topic of today's discussion is Dragon Quest content in Smash. There's been a lot of rumours about Erdrick and potential Dragon Quest stuff coming to Smash, and I've been a big shill for him, and Pode has been a big shill for Erdrick. And the thing was, turns out I've only played one Dragon Quest game, and Spazzy, who's played the most Dragon Quest stuff on the team, has only played 3 Dragon Quest games.
And two of them were, actually all 3 of them were a long time ago at this point.
Yeah, so there may be a need to outsource this episode, so...
Yes. It does go to show the amount of Dragon Quest love in the West, though.
Yeah. Just for context, though, the ones I played, and I was saying earlier, it was... So I just played these all in, the past 5 months, and I've kind of landed myself in this position. The ones I played were 1, 3, 5, and 8. So I think 3, 5, and 8 are the fan favorites. Yes. That's what I've heard. And then I played 1 just for posterity, and I figured it was good to do that because you can beat it in 2 days almost if you just keep trucking forward. I felt like I just wanted to see what the formula, how it took root, and I was interested in its history. But these were mobile ports, I need to point out. They were actually really good ports, and I have seen people recommend that on the subreddit. So
I'm sure the mobile ports of 1 and 3 are probably better than the original NES versions.
Probably.
Yeah, I want to say that I played Dragon Warrior. It wasn't Dragon's Quest. I played Dragon Warrior on the physical NES years and years and years ago. So yeah, that's how long ago it's been since I played that game.
Yeah, I think I've played a ROM of the Japanese version of Dragon Quest 1 because when I was really young, we bought a DVD player that came with a bunch of free games that were clearly not meant to be on there. But it was my first time playing games like Mega Man and Castlevania, and I'm pretty sure Dragon Quest was one of them, but it was in Japanese, and I had no clue what was going on. But I recognized Slime, so that's how I know it was Dragon Quest.
Yeah, that's really all I knew about it beforehand, and this was a series that I got into because Erdrick was being, popped around in leaks and rumors and things like that. So I was like, oh, okay, might as well take the time to figure out what the character's about.
Yeah.
And it's pretty much your, standard, your hero archetype, sword and shield, magic user, wielder. It's got some...
It kind of sits... It kind of set the board for that sort of archetype, though.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's like the original hero, pretty much, for fantasy RPGs. Because that's the big thing about Dragon Quest. I mean, despite me not having played basically any of them but 9, I've still been a big advocate for Erdrick getting in Smash because he just makes a lot of sense. And that's because Dragon Warriors and Dragon Quest are such a big, iconic franchise in gaming. Dragon Quest, the original, pretty much founded JRPGs as we know them, and it's what all games like Earthbound and Final Fantasy were originally inspired from, and it's all across popular culture.
Zelda 2.
Yeah, Zelda 2 was also inspired by Dragon Quest.
That's how big it was.
Yeah. It's massive, and there's all sorts of big pop culture stuff, especially in Japan, for Dragon Quest. Like when I was living there were Dragon Quest mints, there was a Dragon Quest museum, I was on a Dragon Quest train at one point. The stuff is everywhere. And so if there was going to be any other Square Enix rep, of course it's going to be a Dragon Quest character. It's just which Dragon Quest character.
Something I see a lot is people kind of complain. And first of all, the cultural footprint it has there is not something that we can easily understand over here in the West because we're not as surrounded by it. But I've heard people compare it to the likes of Mario or Link or things like that.
No, it definitely is.
Yeah, and that's not really something that we can wrap our heads around because we always think of okay, here's the pantheon of characters, some notable series, and that just doesn't even exist over here. And I know we were talking earlier about being the original archetype, and something I've seen on the Discord is like some people will complain like, oh, he's gonna be too generic, but like, what do you expect? I mean, he was the first, so what else could he be? It might be like Robin, but fun.
Oh. Well, I was actually thinking that a character would probably be like a mix between Robin and Link.
Yeah,
that's what I was thinking.
Pretty fun.
Like, because he has his iconic weapons are the sword and shield, and then he knows a bunch of magic, and that just makes sense then. Magic for the special, sword and shield for the base stuff. I guess the question is for which version of Erdrick do they go for? The original NES version where he's a child, or the Super Nintendo upgrade where he's an adult?
Well, I mean, there are other characters. The hero from Dragon's Quest VIII, the Luminary.
Oh yeah, 11. I guess we should go over why Erdrick is the one that everyone's been going over, other than the fact that that's the rumored one.
Because Erdrick isn't even the protagonist of Dragon's Quest I. Really.
No, he's not. I mean, the fact is,
just a descendant.
Yeah, everyone jumps on Erdrick, even though the data mining for Brave is just hero. Like, that's what it means. It doesn't. All of the Dragon Quest protagonists can fall under that banner. But the reason people think it's Erdrick is because Dragon Quest, like Final Fantasy, has a revolving cast and doesn't have a set protagonist for the whole series. But Cloud got picked because he's the most iconic. Mm-hmm. And in that same sense, Erdrick is that for Dragon Quest. The first 3 games are all about his legacy, with him being finally playable in the third one. And Dragon Quest III is the most popular Dragon Quest game out of all of them, as voted by in Japan, which is the same for Final Fantasy VII. That's the most popular Final Fantasy game. And it's Erdrick's armor that gets referenced all the time. And Erdrick's, even not Erdrick's armor, like his just regular hero clothes, I've seen be referenced in many like anime and manga from Japan.
What I'll say, though, is, without getting into any spoilers for people that want to play the game, in Dragon's Quest XI, the Luminary, Erdrick is just a title for the Legendary Warrior, and you become an Erdrick.
Yeah.
In that game. Like, it's an actual title that your character has, and on top of that, he can use the sword and the shield.
Yeah. I haven't played it myself, but I have heard that was the case.
Yes, I have. It's the same. Which
I should have jumped in earlier, and we were talking about what design of Erdrick. Something I've noticed is like when you look at the old Toriyama art for the game, you see a lot of the other party members. They are also kind of chibified, but I think the case was always that Erdrick was a teenager. But maybe for marketing purposes, they decided to go down that more shonen archetype route, where he looks like a kid Goku. But I think,
except for in America, where they make everybody a badass knight fighting a giant ass dragon.
Yeah, he looks like Simon or something on the cover. So yeah, you might open up the game here and you be a little bit disappointed about the little dinky horned warrior. But I forgot my point. Yeah, so we have our so we got our. I don't know what I was saying, so I'm gonna let you guys continue. Completely gone.
You're talking about the Toriyama art.
Yeah. Sorry. So this is more of like what design they would go with, like the chibified, versus like teenager. Because on the Super Famicom SNES, he does look aged up, but I think that's more accurate to his actual in-game age. Because I think they were moving beyond that Dragon Ball era. Not that everything has to be defined by that, but that was certainly a player in what how video games looked, and it determines their appearance.
It's true, and I think they might go for the adult one for the reason as well that there's also a female variant for Erdrick.
Yeah,
he's got both male and female, and the only actual artwork for the female version is with the adult-looking version, not the kid-looking version.
Yeah,
where I guess they wouldn't really look much different in the chibi-fied equivalent.
Yeah, I have a hard time believing they would
just female chibi.
They would have to remake chibi female Erdrick from the ground up, which seems a little weird because that doesn't exist anywhere.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think a problem with Erdrick as a design, especially, not even talking about alts of other characters, if we're talking about the character that's the hero from Dragon's Quest III, is Dragon's Quest III is the first RPG that I can remember, and I'm sure there were others before, but it definitely popularized it, where you can pick the gender of your character, and this was back in the Famicom days. So this was, kind of a big deal then. So because it was such a big part of that game, I think it would be really odd for them not to include it.
Yeah, no, agreed. And
Yeah, I can kind of see that.
Yeah.
And then on top of that, like, I also feel like the robes and then the armor are also very iconic, but I can't see them doing essentially 4 different models. Armor, female armor, male armor, and then female robes and male robes, or tunic, I guess. You know?
I had an idea about this, which I know I've spoken to Pod about before outside of this discussion, which I'll get to in a bit. But just to do 1 plus, I guess, for the chibi version and 1 negative for the chibi version. Negative-wise is that it's the adult Super Nintendo version that Square uses a lot, like Dragon Quest Monster Battle Road on mobile uses the adult version. There's a new action figure of Erdrick coming out in Japan that uses the adult version. Yeah, that's true. Like, there's other mobile games and crossover games that use the adult version. But a plus for the chibi one is that during Dragon Quest Anniversary a few years ago, they released a sort of, I don't know if it's a character book or just a series book or whatever anniversary book, but it had all the protagonists on the front cover from every game, including 11. Mm-hmm. And the Erdrick they used for that was the younger chibi version of Erdrick.
Yeah, I did see that.
Whereas all the other characters weren't chibi or anything, they were their regular size. So he clearly looks like a kid in that version. So,
I think I've seen it in the Discord too. I think people want the chibi version for a few reasons. I think they feel that design feels more at home in a Nintendo game. We've got like kind of chibi, mascot-looking characters. And the other reason,
and it'll be different from what we have. No, I'm saying it'd be different from what we have too. The first DLC's Joker. This will be a little, more cartoony, if you will.
Yeah, that was actually going into my second point, which was people have this category kind of set up in their head of like, oh, the anime swordsman, and I think it kind of started with Fire Emblem. And it may just only be Fire Emblem, but despite that, you do kind of see a swell of people who do get angry at some of the newer... Like, I did see a few people who were angry at Cloud, but that might be a minority. But I think people, they really want to move away from that.
No, I see what you mean. Yeah, Cloud, I think, was a minority, but their Shulk is...
Yeah, I'm sorry, that was probably the bigger one.
The bigger one, yeah. And the Pits and Dark Pits as well. I mean, they're both... got that sort of anime redesign.
Yeah, they got lumped in there after the fact.
Yeah, like even though they were designed to be more like how Link is, because Link doesn't get lumped in there.
Yeah, for some reason, no.
But Pit and Dark Pit do. But no, I see that. I mean, I think the chibi one would be a little more unique as well, just because we have Toon Link and Young Link, I suppose, so we have younger Sword and Shield users. But with already having Link and then, all the Fire Emblem Sword users, I think having another smaller one would be cooler. But we don't know what it's going to be like. We just know that it's going to be Erdrick. And I guess how would we think Erdrick is going to... Actually, no, before we get to that, I just thought I'd go over the alts and stuff, because you mentioned it a moment ago, Spazzy, and I think that they could do the armor because the armor's so iconic, and I think, like, looking at Little Mac has his regular version, his wireframe version, and then a hooded variant of both his wireframe version and his regular version as well. So I think even if it's just 1 alt for the female and 1 alt for the male, I reckon they'll do Erdrick's armor.
I know what you're going to go into. I actually really like your idea about it, but I'm going to, leave that to you to present that.
So the big issue with the armor is how do you distinct it from the male and female version of the armor, because it's all just the same thing. And they have a variant of that in, I think, Dragon Quest Warriors, or Dragon Quest Heroes, I think it's called.
I think it was Heroes.
Yeah, where the female version is basically the same, but is a skirt instead of regular armor. But what I thought was a better idea...
That's really all it takes.
And a bow. They put a bow on top of the armor.
But what I thought was a better idea was if... because the armor in Dragon Quest 1 is meant to be Erdrick's armor. Like, that's the armor, because it's just passed down, because the hero of Dragon Quest 1 is Erdrick's descendant. And so he's wearing Erdrick's armor, but it's been altered and stuff. It's not. It has like an orange undersuit I guess for lack of a better word, underneath it, and there's less armor on it. And I think that could be a really good alt for the female version, because then you're making a reference to Dragon Quest 1 as well as having it still be Erdrick's armor and have it look different from the standard Erdrick armor that the male variant would have. And it can still be, then the armor can still be the same color as well, which I know with third parties is always a bit an iffy thing, like how Sonic has to always be some kind of shade of blue, and Cloud wasn't allowed to have very drastic color changes either. So I think those are all definitely, I think that's a really good way of having that across. And then the rest of the standard outfit should be based on like the Luminary and like his color scheme, potentially one based on the Dragon Quest 3 sprite, which I know is white and blue. And
I do think it would be important to get the armor in somehow. I do think if Erdrick gets in, I have a funny feeling they're going to do both the tunic, the cape, and the armor. Because I know there's like a museum of some kind in Japan. Sorry, I don't know the name, but there's pictures out there if you Google like Erdrick's armor. Mm-hmm. They have it on display, and it looks like really immaculate and everything. And they really pulled out all the stops, so it makes you wonder if this about its cultural significance or how much it matters.
Yeah, that's the thing. I think it is like really iconic. I mean, it's practically in every single Dragon Quest game. Like, Erdrick's armor is like this super armor that you can get by doing everything, and same for Erdrick's sword and Erdrick's shield. Like, it's in Dragon Quest 9. I think it's in 11 Heroes. I think it might be in 8 as well. It's in the mobile games. It's in 1, 2, and 3. Like, it's an iconic piece of Dragon Quest memorabilia. So I feel like if it wasn't the default, they would have to have the armor as an alt of some kind. My only thing against it would be if it changes the weight, I suppose. But that's also something they could just ignore, I guess.
This might be like conspiracy territory, but I know something that kind of came along with that was the horns. Like, you have the big prominent horns, especially on the Overworld sprite. Mm-hmm. And I noticed in Animal Crossing, the GameCube one, the character. Yeah, okay, so the GameCube character starts out with horns on his head. Like, why? Why is that? Like, what does that even mean? Is that something that I don't understand, or is this in some way drawing inspiration from that old armor?
Maybe. I mean, you could make the same argument for Eco then, because the protagonist of Eco also has horns.
I mean, just horn helmets are cool, man. I don't think you need more than that.
Yeah.
I would think the sword and the shield, no matter who the dragons... If we have... Well, I mean, we didn't really talk about it much, but if we have a character from Dragon's Quest, I think it would be a playable hero. It would be one of the hero characters. I know there's a lot of people that like Slime. And Slime is a very iconic part of the series, but I feel like in the same way that the Chocobos are very iconic to Final Fantasy, you know what I mean?
Yeah, no, yeah. I know. I was a big advocate for Chocobo over Cloud because of that reason, and then it didn't happen. That's why I'm convinced it'll be a hero as opposed to Slime.
Right, because when you think about it, if you're a fan of the actual series, you want to feel like you're playing as one of the heroes, not as... Yeah. And I know Slime has had spin-off games.
So does Chocobo.
But, yeah, so does Chocobo. Or a Moogle or whatever, So, I definitely feel like it would be that. I don't know if we want to spend any time going over why we think Dragon's Quest character is likely.
I kind of said it at the beginning, because if there's going to be any Square Enix character, it's going to be a Dragon Quest one. And not only is it because it's their next biggest series, regardless of how well it actually does in the West, and whether stuff like Tomb Raider is, does more or has a bigger cultural impact in the West. Dragon Quest still has sold more and is still their second biggest series, and one that they keep pushing games out for, even if they don't all come out.
And it's still popular. Dragon's Quest 11 sold over 4 million copies, and that's before the Switch version comes out. Yeah. And I have a feeling the Switch version is going to do very well, especially in the West.
Yeah, I think that the Switch version will. I feel like picking up Dragon Quest 11, which, I didn't feel like picking up the remake of 8 on 3DS.
Before we jump too much off the Slime thing, I do kind of want to tackle this.
Okay.
A lot of people do bring up, okay, maybe it's going to be the Slime because the Slime's like the mascot, they're on everything. Like you said, they're on the mint gum. And they were also...
keyboard that looks pretty great.
Yeah. And there's also a controller, which I hear is very painful for the... is it PS4? It's like the straight up... It's not even modified much, it's just like the ball.
It's just the slime, yeah.
Yeah, it's just the slime. So... I mean, it's a collector's item. You can pay a lot for it, but what does it cost you as a player? Anyways,
Just your pride.
people have said like the Mario Sports Mix, I think was the game, was the one where slime got in. So they'll point to that and they'll say, okay, maybe it's slime. But I think
Boom Street, but Mario Sports Mix was just Final Fantasy.
Oh, okay, yeah.
So I think that the big thing against Erdrick and a lot of the heroes from Dragon Quest is that the heroes have never really crossed over in any game. Even Dragon Quest Heroes doesn't have any of the heroes. Playable.
Slime is in Megamix. He's the only Dragon's Quest character. It's a bunch of Final Fantasy and then Slime.
Oh, was it? Okay.
Yes, just so you know.
Wait, Mario Sports Megamix?
Or no, not Megamix. Mario Sports. What's it called? Mario Sports Mix.
Was Slime in that?
He was, yeah. For the Wii, he's an unlockable character.
Oh wow, maybe. All right, never ignore me then. Yeah, I'm wrong.
So yeah, I felt like people would point to that and try to argue, okay, maybe Slime's in because he's the one who's crossing over. But at the same time, I think one of the design goals for Smash is you want to, and this applies most of the time, I'm not going to say it applies for everything, but it seems to, for a lot of things, is you want to kind of capture how you play the game and like what you're actually doing. And you're not really controlling a slime unless you're playing like 5, and I think some other games may have the monster capture mechanic, not positive. But yeah, so usually you are playing as the hero, and you aren't really playing as the slime. But I do want to bring up Slime can equip some stuff. He can equip, like, the boomerang. I think he can have... I don't think he can have any swords, but he can have a few equipment items. And there's also the Slime Knight, which people have pointed to, because they want to solve the issue of, like, how can you play a Dragon Quest character and not be slashing your sword? So there's a Slime Knight, which actually... yeah, so there's a Slime Knight, which is a little dude who just sits on top of the slime. And the slime is actually mind controlling him, so it's not the other way around. It's not the guy riding him. Apparently, I looked this up. I looked on the wiki because someone brought this up, and I'm like, what were you talking about? So, yeah, he's actually kind of puppeteering this knight on top of him with a sword who kind of slashes around. So, people tried to point to that as a way to solve the sword slashing issue. But at that point, I just feel like you're kind of implementing a lot of things to solve a problem, and you're really working around it in a way that is creative, but it's just kind of weird.
Yeah.
There's Dragon Quest Heroes Rocket Slime stuff, so there are versions of slimes with different moves.
Yeah.
If a slime is in, I want his final smash to be calling for reinforcements. Like,
For
like
the
in the
king
games
slime?
are just... yeah,
Yeah.
there's like other slimes show
Metal
up.
slime, there's a she
Yeah.
slime.
Yeah. Yeah.
I would love it if
Yeah,
Metal
just-
Slime just ran in and ran away as soon as he appears.
That would be a good joke.
I just want to point out, like, I do this a lot. I know sales isn't everything. It definitely isn't. I mean, we just got Joker from Persona, and Persona is not that big of a franchise. But just to give you perspective, I'm just looking through the best-selling video game franchises of all time, and the ones that are currently in Smash that are bigger that have sold more units in Dragon's Quest are Mario, Pokemon, Final Fantasy, Sonic the Hedgehog, and Legend of Zelda. That's it. So there's only 5 franchises in all of Smash, including third parties, that have sold more units than Dragon's Quest. Dragon's Quest also has a really, really long and interesting history with Nintendo. Nintendo's published most of their games in the West. The first Dragon's Warrior, they basically shipped out with Nintendo powers. They have like a really close relationship. I think Zelda 2 had Didn't Zelda 2 have the Erdrick or Loto tombstone? I know Final Fantasy had one as well.
Yes.
Yeah.
Zelda
Okay.
2 had an Erdrick tombstone.
Yeah,
and
I only
Dragon
knew about
Quest,
Final Fantasy.
And Dragon Quest has
Yeah.
a Link tombstone.
Yeah.
Although that might only be in the American version, like the localized version. I don't know if that's the same in the Japanese.
Is it still
One of the
Erdrick
first-
in the English one? In
Yeah,
Zelda 2? Or does it say Here Lies
or is it
Loto?
Roto? I'm not sure actually.
I mean, not like anyone here knows, but I'm not like
Yeah.
anyone in the West knows, but I'm just kind of curious.
Yeah.
I'm gonna
But I'm
check.
just pointing out that Nintendo, this is a series that basically created the Japanese RPG genre. Like Final Fantasy and Phantasy Star came out a year later to capitalize off it, and then that kind of kickstarted everything off. There were a couple earlier games that you could point at as examples of JRPGs, and it kind of came from games in the West like Ultima. However, this is a game that kind of brought the overworld and the random battles and the menu, like everything that you think of as JRPGs, like really started with this. And it's a system that's tied into Nintendo. It started on the Famicom. Most of the games in the series have been on Nintendo hardware. I think actually every game at this point, right?
I think I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah, every
Yeah.
Dragon
3DS.
Quest game has been on Nintendo hardware thanks to 3DS. Having 8 over
Yeah.
there.
Is the entire thing on 3DS?
No, not the entire series. Dragon Quest 1 through 3 were on NES, Super Nintendo, and Game Boy. And then
Okay.
Dragon Quest 4 and 5 and maybe 6 were all Super Nintendo. And then 7 was PS1, 8 was PS2, 9 was DS, 10 is Wii, Wii U, Switch, and PC, I think. And then 11 is now coming to Switch.
Maybe it'll come to the App Store too. I was really surprised, I was really surprised by how many of them are on the App Store. It's pretty much everything up to 8, and I think there's even 9 as well. I'm not positive, but the one I was really iffy about playing was like, okay, I'm gonna try 8, and this time it's 3D. So I'm gonna have to use this thing on my screen to control 3D characters. It's actually not that bad. I really recommend the mobile ports for those games because there are some sacrifices, like some of the characters or some of the enemies don't animate in 3, but that does change in 5. But it uses good music, and I think it has like the SNES graphics, and it's kind of touched up. So if anyone wants to get into the series, I would go with that.
Okay, just to clarify on the Zelda 2 stuff, I was wrong. Apparently it's in the Japanese version, not the Western version.
Oh,
In the Japanese version of Zelda 2, there's a tombstone that says, "Here lies Loto, the hero," which is not translated over properly in the American version. However, and then what Square did is in Final Fantasy, they have a grave that says, "Here lies Link," in Japanese, which was translated to "Here lies Erdrick" in the Western version.
The US.
here lies error.
So,
Yeah.
so the West didn't want to kill Link, so they killed off Erdrick instead. And thus, Dragon Quest was never the same.
That's why I didn't do well here.
But yeah, we've talked a lot about why Erdrick and his design and all of this. But why? What about how?
Anime series. It has 3 anime series, 18 books, 9 novels, 16 manga series, so many spin-offs. Yeah, it's a big.
So
It's big.
instead of trying to push more Dragon Quest, what about how will Erdrick actually? How do we think Erdrick will actually play?
What's
We
interesting
talked
is I
about the
brought up-
mixture of this with Robin, cross between Robin and Link using magic for his specials.
But I
were
mean,
there
he
any
could literally
specifications
be Link.
that,
I mean,
either of you guys
he
have?
uses. You can use. Yeah, you can use a bow and arrow. You can use a boomerang. I actually think the boomerang should. There's a good chance they could work the boomerang into his moveset, but there's already so many boomerang.
Yeah, I
users
ended
in
up
Smash.
going with Boomerang a lot in those games just because out of the weapons you have available, that's a good one because it'll hit crowds of enemies versus like a sword.
It's a big part of that series, so I feel like the boomerang makes a lot of sense. But I mean, didn't we just add like 3 boomerang users? We have King K. Rool, the Belmonts.
Oh yeah.
Yeah.
There's a lot of boomerang users. All the links.
Yeah, I don't think he should have a boomerang. I mean,
Me
my thought was that he'd use magic for his specials. I think I had Zoom as his up B.
Definitely Zoom's gonna be the up B.
Yeah,
Because that's
it's like Lucario's up B. Sort
yeah,
of thing.
pretty much that. Yeah.
Yeah, and then I had standard fire magic, Sizzle, whatever it was called, for his regular special.
Mm-hmm.
I had Snooze for his side B because he can put people to sleep. That's a magic he learns. And then I had Kaklang for his down B.
Down B.
Yeah, I wanted to
Yes.
bring that. Yeah.
Yeah.
From what I've played, all of the hero magic seems to be like relatively the same, which is why I don't think it's impossible that some heroes might come in as other palette swaps because they're all pretty similar. Not that needs to happen because I know Simon's like a bunch of different characters together in his moves.
Yeah.
So
Belmont. Simon only really takes moves from Richter.
oh okay.
Yeah, like the only move that Simon and Richter really, I mean, I know this because I'm doing the research right now for the Know Your Moves for Alax, but the only moves that don't come from Symphony of the Night or Rondo or Super Castlevania is the dive kick. And that is a move that originally the first Belmont to have it was a Juiced Belmont in Harmony of
Woo.
Dissonance.
Everyone's favorite.
But in Harmony of Despair, the big multiplayer game they had, Richter and Simon both have the dive kick. So anyways.
I just figured that was a move they invented. Not to talk about Simon too much, but when that happened, I was like, okay, this is just something that Sakurai swung because he needed to do something for that. Okay, so I guess everything really does.
Just look forward to the Know Your Moves.
Yeah, definitely. But
Sorry, go on.
All right, yeah.
yeah, battle magic for the B, I think would be fire or something like that probably.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Kaklang I like a lot. I think that was that might be an Erdrick only move. Not positive. I don't want to throw that out there.
I think that is.
Other heroes can use
okay.
it, but very rarely. Like it's used much more in 3.
Yeah, like it wasn't. It's not in every game, but I think it debuted in 3.
I know. Yes. I never used it because I was just hitting auto battle all game, so I don't know. So there's like half of those moves I don't know what they do.
So you know how to play a mobile game.
Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it was like it was like a defensive one. It turns you to stone or something, doesn't it? Like
but you can't move.
Yeah, it's like I think it was called Iron Eyes in some ports. So basically, it turns you into iron. I don't know, stone, iron, who knows what it is. It'll do
I think it's iron, yeah. Older translation, Iron Eyes. Just checking the Dragon Quest wiki to make sure I'm factually correct.
But it would, first fire magic, would you charge it, or would that be too similar to Robin?
Well, see, I thought, because there's obviously Frizzle, Cafrizzle, or whatever. Like, I thought that you'd charge it and that would, like, dictate which one you go up to. In the same way that you do with Robin's.
Yeah, as far as Robin's Fireball goes, that was pretty much what I pictured for Erdrick. Because, not that it matters too much, but I was looking back at some of the old artwork. And that's kind of what it seemed to be, is like, hero holding his index finger out in the air, and then he swings, his hand down, the Fireball comes down and hits the guy in front of him. Mm-hmm. So I thought maybe it would kind of be like that. Because I think with Robin, it does, like, start above kind of his hand. I mean, this is like nitty gritty, but
yeah.
I figured it'd be like that, kind of like PK Fire in a way, but
yeah, no, I agree. But do you think Kaklang would it be like a counter, or do you think it would like?
Yeah, that's the thing.
Balancing ways, because surely then it can't be invulnerable to final smashes or throws. But then, like, what's the benefit of it, I suppose?
It would be exactly like Kirby's Down B.
Yeah, not a bad idea.
That could work. Yeah, to be fair, that's not a bad idea. He just turns into a statue.
Because I'm trying to think, like, okay, what in the game is similar to that? I guess, yeah, Kirby's Down B is kind of...
Kirby's Down B, yeah.
That's kind of crazy, a sword fighter can do that.
Yeah, but if it's the adult one, it'd be really big as well. It'd be a Link-sized statue just falling down.
Kind of reminds me of like Tanuki Mario or something.
Yeah,
just
Tanuki
kind of poses
Mario
and then he
is what I was
drops.
thinking. Yeah, that'd be pretty.
It's a little weird though. Like picturing him dropping like a ground pound motion just seems a little bit weird to me.
It would be a character that was like a lot of different characters.
Yeah, everyone was worried it was just going to be another anime swordsman, but nope.
I don't want to do a counter for Erdrick though, because
yeah,
who doesn't have a counter these days?
But why would you do that? Because there's so much you can do.
Yeah.
Because like literally, like all of the generic. I don't want to say generic, but but yeah, generic fantasy spells. He can do fire. He can do magic. He frost magic. Electric.
Yeah, well, electric is what I think his final smash would be. There's that. I think a lot of people have seen it now from the mobile game. His like ultra move is Kazap. And it's like this full animation where he sticks his sword up, Skyward Sword style, lightning strikes down. I think he like jumps down and like slams the ground with it, and it causes this massive eruption. Like that's what I feel like his final smash would be. They could even just play. I mean, there are two ways: either he just holds his sword up and lightning strikes down and does damage, or it's a cutscene based one where he swings at someone and then it goes to a cutscene and just plays out.
How about we give him?
It's called Kazap.
Okay, that's right. Yeah.
I was going to say, how about we give him Pikachu's Down B as well as Kirby's Down B?
There was also I've seen people bring up the there's an attack that comes up later. I forget which game, but it was definitely an 8. It's called Giga Slash. And then if you max out another stat, I think it was Charisma. If you max out your Charisma, it becomes Giga Gash, and you kind of like hold your arms together. It looks super anime in the game, and they both light up purple, and then he like strikes the whole thing. But that's not the important part. I think in a port later on, there's an even stronger version of that where if you do something else, I think if you're like level 100 or something, I'm not gonna say what it was, but I know there's a certain condition where Giga Gash is like a certain upgraded form. And the reason I'm bringing this up is because he turns into a Super Saiyan. Like, no joke. Like his hair shoots up purple, and he's floating in the air, and he does like a Goku dive. Like, I think that would be super cool to see for like a Toriyama design character. You might just go all the way. For the people who are asking for Goku, unironically, you just might as well throw them a bone.
Yeah. I'm just looking up. Giga Gash is from Dragon Quest 8 and 9.
Okay.
That's where it appeared.
The powered up version might just be in a port, like a 3DS port, because I know they enhanced stuff in that, like they gave you some party members,
Yeah,
so it might just be that.
It might be the 3DS port of 8.
Yeah, there's a video of it out there. But it's super cool.
So yeah, any other thoughts then on how Erdrick might play? Do you think that he might have any special gimmicks or anything, or do you think he's going to be a pretty standard character?
I think he's going to be not much of a... I think he's going to be a no-brainer as far as moves go. You know, you got your sword. I think he's going to have battle magic, status magic of some kind, and then zoom. Definitely zoom for the recovery. I like the old artwork of it, because they kind of zip across the sky, sort of like in Dragon Ball Z, where they like just turn into a light, like zooming across, and just appear somewhere. I think that's super cool. I'd like to see that.
Yeah.
I think because Dragon's Quest is the prototypical JRPG, and it's kind of where all of the JRPG tropes came from, that there's a chance they might do an MP system, give him a magic bar. I don't know, like if that would be too complicated, or maybe too resource management. Maybe once again a little bit too close to someone like Robin. But like it makes sense for me for like the character that started JRPGs more or less to have a magic bar, you know?
So what we're saying then is that it should be turn-based.
I feel like that should be left to Robin, though, because I feel like there should be an option that's sort of like Robin, but with no bar. And I don't want to make this I don't want this to be a character that makes Robin totally obsolete, because Robin does have cool stuff. He has like a lightning bolt that shoots across everything, goes through platforms and everything. But, yeah.
Yeah.
One of the ideas I had was more of like a visual flare, where while Erdrick is attacking, you would have tiny little black dialogue boxes with like words filling up quickly for some moves, like maybe specials, like kind of would appear next to his head or his finger, just as like visual flair. That might be too much, but I do see that referenced a lot. Like I know there's a boss in Kirby Superstar, which is like the computer virus, and it has like all the text coming up, and I've just seen that barred up, and I feel like that's pretty iconic.
Yeah, no, I think that could be a cool little visual flair to have on there. So, it's a lot about Erdrick we've talked about. Just the fighter, but I guess there's a lot to talk about. So, if you guys have anything else to say about Erdrick, because there are other, obviously, if he's a fighter pass, there's other Dragon Quest related stuff that could also come. Like, we know we're going to be a stage, and there's obviously going to be, hopefully there's going to be music. But
yeah, too many.
But there could also be spirits, Mii fighter costumes, etc. And so before we move on to that, is there any final thoughts on Erdrick as an actual character in Smash?
I don't know. Zap, Blaze, all of the boom. I'm actually looking at his spell list right now. I'm like, oh, we can use this. You can always give him some support magic. Actually, power people up.
I think support magic would be a cool thing, just because like a lot of characters use offensive magic. Like Ness and Lucas are meant to be support mages in that game.
Yeah.
And Sakurai defaulted them to using offensive magic because of the Nintendo 64 limitations. I'm going to excuse that. So if Erdrick instead went for the support magic, and that's why I put stuff like Snooze in my moveset for him,
Yeah, I feel like it would be between
someone else
that
to
or
sleep,
playing.
because only Jigglypuff does that. Like, it'd be
It'd
pretty
be
cool.
nice to have another character that does that. Yeah.
So it'd be.
I would say,
Cool.
yeah, wind magic offensively too, because I'm trying to think of stuff that doesn't step on the toes of
I mean, you could
Ness
give,
and Lucas
give-
and Robin. You know
give
what
him
I'm
the
saying?
boomerang, but it has wind effects, almost like some kind of gale boomerang.
I think the wind magic was only the priest or something like that. Like I don't know. Wait, no, I may be wrong. I think he also had swoosh. My bad.
I think he does
Yeah,
too.
everything is onomatopoeia. It's like bang, swoosh,
Swoosh.
sizzle. I think it's also like that in the
Kazap.
Japanese too. Kazap.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no, I think it is. Yeah,
that's really cool.
It's also a very Toriyama thing.
Definitely, yeah. You see his footprint in that game everywhere. Like even like the visual humor. Some of the jokes are like straight out of like Master Roshi or something.
So I guess my final thought on Erdrick is I wonder if they'll really pull out all the stops on the Dragon Ball references and just have like an orange palette.
Yeah, I hope they do. Yeah,
But-
for final thought. Sorry.
Yeah, no. I was going to move on, but if you've got a final thought, go Pod.
Well,
Yeah.
we
So
haven't talked.
um.
Oh, sorry.
Yeah, no,
go
you're
for
good. This is one of those like historical picks, and I hope that because it is sort of a generic character, I hope people can recognize that if this does end up happening and not undersell the character, because they do have a lot of legacy and they have inspired a lot of what is in Smash, and huge for the genre, like the fantasy genre too. I haven't even talked about that, but I hope people can kind of wrap their heads around that and not dogpile the character because it's a kind of anime guy with a sword. But I think having a Toriyama designed character in Smash would be super cool.
Yeah, no, I agree. I think that's got me a bit more excited than anything else, to be honest, 'cause it's going to be quite a unique looking style to be in there, quite a recognizable style as well.
Yeah, the Goku and Smash memes are going to be relentless. There's no getting around it.
If only we could also have actual Goku, but not Goku,
Yeah.
but Nintendo's Goku.
All
Alright.
What do you guys think about stages, by the way? Have we
Yeah,
discussed
well,
that at all?
that's what I wanted to go on to now. Now that we're finally
Let's do
done
it.
with Erdrick, there's more stuff to come with the Fighters Pack. But if you want to listen to that, you're going to have to wait for part 2, where we go over all the non-fighter content we can expect from the DLC. I want to thank our super patron, the Duke of Dorks, as well as all of our other patrons who are on screen right now. Let us know what you thought of this discussion, and let me know what you want to see from Erdrick. And always remember to return to the source.